Well, it is October 1st, so get ready for your October surprise, everyone. Sure looks like World War III is underway as we speak. Remember last week when President Biden and the Harris regime said that they're going to push Israel to escalate in order to de-escalate? That's my favorite foreign policy strategy of all time, and we're seeing the fruits of that now. We're going to de-escalate by escalating. So I hope this gets brought up tonight during the vice presidential debates with J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. How is this escalation through de-escalation through escalation working out for you? Well, we just saw it, and it's a disaster. Turns out Kamala Harris and President Biden are morons. And how is this de-escalation going? Well, Israel overnight, of course, invaded Lebanon. And Israel launched strikes into Syria. Yes, Israel struck Damascus overnight. That probably didn't get reported in your state-run media. Killed a bunch of people. Also killed a television news anchor in Damascus. So that was Israel striking Syria, Israel invading Lebanon. Then Russian President Putin rushed to the Kremlin late last night for an emergency meeting and told Benjamin Netanyahu, you better get out of Lebanon right now or face consequences. That from the Russians. So if you don't think we're like at a tipping point moment, then you need to get your head examined. Then just a short time ago, Russia's ally Iran launched hundreds of ballistic missiles at Israel in response to Israel assassinating a few of their leaders. The missile attack started just after noon Eastern time. And just so we're on the same page here, in the 75-year history of Israel, this has never happened. This is unprecedented. And by the way, we should point out, according to military sources I was talking with earlier today, this has just been a theory, like on paper, that anyone could do this and pull this off, which is launch hundreds of ballistic missiles, many of them hypersonic missiles, and overwhelm any sort of Iron Dome, Arrow system, David Sling system, you name it, whatever you want to call their sophisticated anti-air, defense systems, overwhelm all of them with hundreds of ballistic missiles when they can't shoot many of them down, and that's exactly what happened. So Iranian state television, this is Iranian state television, so take this with a grain of salt. Iranian state television says 80% of the missiles fired at Israel hit their targets. 80%. That's the Iranian side. Take that with a grain of salt. Something else you should also take with a grain of salt is the United States side and the Israeli side. They say that almost there was no damage. And Israel says those missiles did fall into Israel, and the ones that fell were struck by anti-aircraft systems, their air defense systems, which is a joke and a total lie.
Well, Fox News is putting that number at dozens. So 80% of a certain number is dozens that hit. So we can't really quantify.
But their dozens are dozens struck and falling. So, we hit them and they fell. So
they're saying dozens got past.
Hit, fell into areas, etc. The propagandists on the mainstream media were telling us that the United States and Israel were able to shoot down almost all of them, though. And then just a few minutes ago, the White House, Jake Sullivan, lied right to our faces. Listen to this propaganda.
But at this time, and I stress at this time, we do not know of any deaths in Israel. We are tracking the reported death of a Palestinian civilian in Jericho in the West Bank. We do not know of any damage to aircraft or strategic military assets in Israel. In short, based on what we know at this point, this attack appears to have been defeated and ineffective. This was first and foremost the result of the professionalism of the IDF, but in no small part because of the skilled work of the U.S. military and meticulous joint planning in anticipation of the attack.
So no damage.
Wait.
No damage.
Wait. They were anticipating this attack, but they also have said they were not notified of the attack. They said Russia was notified of this attack, but the United States was not. But they're just so good that they constantly have a fly swatter in the air.
Right. And then just a short time ago, General, you had, the Joint Chiefs of Staff General coming out and saying that, yes, in fact, we fired 15 interceptors. So in his initial statement, we fired 15 interceptors. And then he tried to move on when a reporter followed it up and said, you fired 15 interceptors. Did they hit any Iranian missiles? We don't have that information yet. Yes, you do. You fired 15 interceptors. The whole purpose of an interceptor is immediate response to know if it struck its target and intercepted the missile it fired at. You're lying once again to the American people.
That was not a question he asked. That was not a question he asked. They're like, yeah, we fired 15 interceptors. Oh, great. No more information needed.
And he just moved on. We fired 15 interceptors from our aircraft carriers that are positioned in the Gulf, 10,000 American forces that are there right now, sitting ducks. We fired 15 interceptors to help out with this operation. Did they hit? We don't have that information. Can't give you that information. Like, this is the type of garbage you're being fed right now. So, okay, it's all laughable. There's no damage, according to Jake Sullivan. Oh, and by the way, the only victim just happens to be a Palestinian? You mean so Iran is now killing Palestinians? That's the propaganda that they're telling you from the podium. I don't know if you caught that. The only person we know of that's been killed so far is a Palestinian, and because that came from Iran. Just so you're clear. Okay, we'll verify that, Jake Sullivan. We'll get to the bottom of that, Jake Sullivan. But eyewitnesses have something else to say about it. Eyewitnesses who are witnessing massive destruction across Israel in multiple locations. But there's no damage, I guess. Well, here's just an example. These punishing attacks. These are eyewitness videos.
That looks like about 12%.
Yeah, that's about 12%. No damage at all, though, according to the White House. And there's no damage, and not true at all. Many are lies. Many are ballistic missiles many of these ballistic missiles did hit in downtown Tel Aviv and all across Israel. Of course, outside of the main area of Tel Aviv. You won't see this on Fox News, though. Like this. This is downtown Tel Aviv. Yeah, horrible. This is war. And this is exactly what's happening. And it's happening right in civilian areas and in military targets. This is war. This is World War III. But you're not going to see that on Fox News because there's no damage. So no one in Tel Aviv was, there's no damage. Don't worry about it. Here's more missile attacks caught by eyewitnesses.
All done. Okay, guys, we got to get off the roof. These are coming down right next to us here.
Yeah, that's the media.
They're coming down.
reporting.
One just about. We got to go inside.
Yeah.
And go where?
But why didn't they report that on television? That's so weird.
You got to get inside and go where, though? Where is safe from something like that?
Yeah, and speaking to sources inside of Tel Aviv, many have bunkers inside their houses, built inside their closet structures. If you're in high rises, they have massive fortified bunkers inside closets, right? So that's where they're going. Here's the thing you won't see, right? And this is important for us to understand here. So when you're watching, MSNBC or CNN or whatever, most of the reporters are like in downtown Tel Aviv, and they have like cushy apartments. Tel Aviv, by the way, is one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in, and a lot of these reporters have very nice apartments in downtown Tel Aviv. So a lot of these Israeli positions that have been hit were actually targeted by Iran. They were out in occupied Palestine and occupied areas where there's IDF forces and military targets far away from the video cameras, because remember, many of the journalists have been killed. So there's not a lot of journalists can go to these areas and get you this type of footage. Here, rockets hitting inside of occupied Palestinian areas, hitting IDF targets inside of occupied Palestine. Watch. So this is in Palestine. These are targets hitting in near Palestine. So you're not going to see a lot of this missile footage again on the mainstream media because of where this stuff is hitting. Many of these rockets struck targets there. They also struck IDF positions, and they struck all over the country. Again, these mainstream media.
Pertinent question.
Yeah.
That we don't have an answer to. How would Iran know where those IDF targets are in occupied Palestine? Okay, I don't have an answer, right? But it's a good question.
Right. They know exactly where Netanjahu is. They know where their bunkers are. They know everything. They have the most advanced spy technology in the world. To think that Iran doesn't know where these guys are located, they were with pinpoint accuracy striking IDF targets. I mean,
okay,
it's ignorant.
It's terrifying, right?
Well, yeah, but this is the war games, right? To think that Putin doesn't know exactly where Zelensky is sitting right now, to think that Netanyahu doesn't know exactly where the Ayatollah is sitting right now, they know exactly where these people are sitting. That's why they were able to target and assassinate Nasrallah. That's why they're able to hit all of these targets specifically. And by the way, the United States is coordinating directly to make sure these targets are struck. with the Israelis right now. And we know that because we just heard from Jake Sullivan that the United States and CENTCOM is working directly to target and make sure that we're hitting these targets.
So, I mean, it's maybe a basic question. Maybe it's rudimentary, but it's terrifying because it shows us what we're dealing with.
Right. And if they want to escalate it at any moment, I think this is the most important thing to take away from all of this today is we were told that this Iron Dome, I saw someone in the chat saying the Iron Dome is a joke, and it's only way to, Daniel Worth says the Iron Dome is an absolute lie. It was a way to get more taxpayer money from the United States tax cattle. Yeah, of course. And it was always a theory, as I mentioned on paper, at the top, it was always a theory on paper that if you overwhelmed the Iron Dome or the Arrow system with a number of hypersonic ballistic missiles, technology that American aircraft carriers cannot shoot down, that the Iron Dome cannot shoot down, that the Arrow system cannot shoot down, that it would destroy, you could potentially destroy Israel. That's exactly what you're seeing happen now. And now we have confirmation of that with hundreds of missiles hitting their targets, even though the mainstream media will lie to you and tell you that they didn't. So what do you take away from this? I mean,
one thing that I take away, I quite liked the idea of an American dome when the President Trump has mentioned
but it's a lie.
that. Yeah.
It's a lie, and
right,
don't
so
fall for it.
It's sort of piercing this false sense of security.
It's a boondoggle. It's a money boondoggle for the military-industrial complex. You cannot shoot down hypersonic missiles, and you certainly can't shoot down 181 of them, which is what we just saw. You cannot shoot down hypersonic missiles. They were fired. You have 12 minutes of response. They were fired from Iran. They knew they were coming, and they weren't able to shoot down nearly any of them, which is eye-opening. And I'm saying this changes everything. And it changes everything for the United States when you think about Americans sitting ducks right now, being used. That's all Americans are doing right now is being used, sitting in the Gulf, 10,000 of them on aircraft carriers. Aircraft carriers that imagine 50 of these ballistic missiles are fired at one of those aircraft carriers. They're done. They are done. According to the military sources that I've been speaking to, you cannot stop them. This technology is antiquated. It looks big. You got this massive aircraft carrier. It's a show of force in the face of this new technology. You're done. You're finished. And now what's going to happen? Israel is, of course, going to ratchet things up and going to respond. They're going to attack oil facilities. They're going to hit all sorts of infrastructure. Here, by the way, in response to this, so this is not being reported on television right now. And that is, Iran has said that they struck that one of their main targets was 3 different airfields. The Nevatim Air Base in Negev, and they apparently hit it from multiple angles and dozens of ballistic missiles taking out this airbase. And this is a massive airbase. This is the largest one in Israel. We won't know until the sun comes up if it's been fully destroyed yet. But this is one of 3. This is one of their main air bases. They struck it 5 months ago and destroyed the runways. Now it looks like they've totally leveled it. Take a look at this. This is the Nevatim Air Base in Negev. Take a look.
Oh, give me a second. Which one are we on?
Nevatim Air Base. Yeah. Missile strikes. Okay. You can just hit any of them because it's all the same airbase from 2 different angles here. You can just go ahead and play them.
المطار دخل مطار مطارنا دخل يا ولاد لا مطارنا دخل لا
You're going to stop that? Yeah. Here's more. This is, again, another angle of the Nevatim Air Base. Take a look at this. Yeah. So you're going to see more and more footage like that. Can we go through? I'm not sure where we are in our footage here now. I've got a bunch of them labeled the same. Just play a couple of these here, Philip. Just go ahead and play them because they're this one, that one. Go ahead and play that one. Go back. Yep. This is the airfield from a different angle. Look at the Iron Dome taking out all of these missiles. There's one that was stopped. Almost every one of that barrage through. So,
we've reported many times in the last few weeks that Iran has offered peace negotiations, that they have said they want to de-escalate. And this is a failure of leadership, that nobody took them seriously, nobody on our side. And you listen to the media right now and they're like, we're going to step up. We can answer them. We can answer them and destroy them. That's what they're saying. And we don't have any kind of cooler heads prevailing saying, this sounds terrifying. How about the death stop? Nobody's saying that. And it's worth remembering that in the wake of September 11th, that only 10% of the voices on cable news were asking for de-escalation. We're asking for peace talks. Nobody's platformed who says that. So keep that in mind. We've been here before.
And you'll see, obviously, the voices saying right now they need to basically annihilate Iran, wipe them off the map, wipe away Tehran, vaporize them. I see someone in the chat saying vaporize
civilians,
Tehran. Yeah. So just like, I guess what you want is nuclear war, drop, and so that's what Iran would do, is respond with massive destruction of Israel and wipe them off the map. You cannot stop this. And I think what this is showing is you can't stop what Iran just did. And the United States can't stop it. The United States has 10,000 forces. Almost more than half of our fleet is there right now, and we couldn't stop it. This should be an absolute wake-up call to everyone who's sitting there and being so cavalier about saying, just go in and destroy Iran right now. Because what is do you think,
stupid,
by the way,
Lindsey Graham?
Do you think Russia is going to allow that to happen? It's not. Well, we are facing World War III moment. Go ahead, Philip.
Not even Russia, Pakistan. Pakistan is a nuclear power.
Right.
What happens? And they've already said that they would retaliate about
and Turkey.
Like they've come up. Yeah, and Turkey.
And so is Israel. We don't know how close those bombs got to Israel's nukes, but they have them.
So the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps just released this statement saying, in response to the assassination of martyr Ismail Haniyeh and martyr Syed Hassan Nasrallah and martyr Major General Abbas Nilforshan, we targeted the heart of occupied territories. So meaning they specifically hit into Palestinian areas specifically. They said, quote, if the Zionist regime responds to the operation, it will face violent attacks. And of course, according to sources, a second wave is ready to start at any moment. As we mentioned earlier, Russian President Putin has a message for Benjamin Netanyahu: get out of Lebanon now or face dire consequences. Russia calling on Israel to immediately withdraw troops from Lebanon. And that's why last night, Putin knows exactly what's coming, racing back to the Kremlin at 11 o'clock last night for an emergency meeting. And Netanyahu knew what was coming because he released this video message to the Iranian people like shortly before the attack, basically saying, now's the time, rise up against your regime. We are here to love you. We as Israelis love you. But, we're going to help you basically throw off this regime, and they are hurting you. This is what Netanyahu had to say a short time ago.
I speak a lot about the leaders of Iran. Yet at this pivotal moment, I want to address you, the people of Iran. I want to do so directly, without filters, without middlemen. Every day, you see a regime that subjugates you make fiery speeches about defending Lebanon, defending Gaza. Yet every day, that regime plunges our region deeper into darkness and deeper into war. Every day, their puppets are eliminated. Ask Mohammed Deif. Ask Nasrallah. There is nowhere in the Middle East Israel cannot reach. There's nowhere we will not go to protect our people and protect our country. With every passing moment, the regime is bringing you, the noble Persian people, closer to the abyss. The vast majority of Iranians know their regime doesn't care a whit about them. If it did care, if it cared about you, it would stop wasting billions of dollars on futile wars across the Middle East. It would start improving your lives. Imagine if all the vast money the regime wasted on nuclear weapons and foreign wars were invested in your children's education, in improving your health care, in building your nation's infrastructure, water, sewage.
Makes you think about how much we spend and give to Israel to carry out foreign wars, right? Like, imagine, I'm sitting here thinking, North Carolina was just destroyed, and President Biden yesterday said he's calling on the American people to donate money and fund the recovery, to fund, his words, I'm calling on the American people to fund the recovery. I'm sorry, you just sent $8 billion to Ukraine. You've got 10,000 forces in the Middle East right now, millions of dollars being funneled into Israel, but you're calling on the American people to fund the recovery of the hurricane-stricken zones. That's rich.
Just weeks ago, the Ayatollah said they would go to talks to renew a nuclear deal if the United States lifted sanctions so that they could invest in prosperity for their own people. We are listening. We're following along. Peace talks have been offered.
But that's not going to happen. So here's what's about to happen. Israel is about to bomb the hell out of Iran. Israel is about to dig its own grave. And then what will Russia do? What will the rest of the world do right now? You have Turkey lining up on the other side of this. You have Russia lining up to protect Iran.
Turkey,
what will the United
a NATO
States do?
country, now breaking away from the NATO fold and saying, we're not going to do what you all are doing. We're actually going to fight against Israel. What the hell?
So here's what's going to happen. You want to play these chess pieces out? Let's play it.
No, I don't.
Let's play this out.
Yeah.
Israel launches a massive attack against Iran, hits their oil infrastructure, goes after their nuclear infrastructure, tries to take out their leaders in different locations where they have the concrete bunkers outside of Tehran. They're going to hit all of those, right? That's what will happen. And then Iran will respond massively and will wipe Israel off the map. It will also strike targets. It could strike American air bases. It could hit American aircraft carriers with overwhelming force. What are we playing at here? I mean, as our friend Douglas McGregor likes to say, make peace, you fools. We are on the brink, and it's October, just in time to show the incompetent leadership sitting in our White House. I'll get us out of here on this point, which is Iranian cars right now are lined up. So this is from Iran just a short time ago. These are Iranian cars. You can see here all lined up, waiting to get gasoline because why would you be lined up right now to get gasoline in Iran? Because if your oil infrastructure is destroyed, you're not going to have access to this very soon. So that's what Iranians are doing right now. Perhaps they know what's about to happen. And then you have this. I think this sums it up here from Fiorella Isabel. The Biden administration tells U.S. military to help Israel shoot down Iranian missiles. Putin tells Israel to get out of Lebanon. That's all you need to know to understand what's happening. It's a nice little summation there of the brinksmanship that we're now playing at.
And so for those of you who are banging your chest saying, well, we need to show them who's boss, or we need to show them, I repeat the advice of the Serbian president, Vučić, who said it's better to go to 100 years of peace talk than to wage even one day of war. That's where I'm going to leave it right now. That's where I'm digging my heels in right there. What about you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we'll see tonight. I'd be curious how much of this comes up during the vice presidential debate tonight, and see what the position is from the White House. But if all you needed to do today to see the propaganda coming out of the White House was tell us that there was no damage, that everything was fine, that the United States participated and coordinated with Israel to shoot down, to try to intercept these missiles. We shot 15 interceptor missiles, but we still don't have an answer as to if any of them hit their targets at all. And now we're in a new era where you can fire hundreds of ballistic hypersonic missiles and the Iron Dome ain't worth shit and doesn't work. And the United States aircraft carriers can't do shit. So we are sitting ducks right now playing with World War III.
Also, reject the news and their attempt to boil this down to this person's crazy, this person hates this race. It's only about this kind of, like, literally Harris Faulkner today said Iran just wants to wipe all Jews off the planet. And that's what we're supposed to just take away from this? Well, it's this kind of evil we need to take away from.
I was watching Fox News today, and they tell me that they just want to wipe all the Jews off the planet.
We never understood
really?
what Osama bin Laden wanted with the attacks on 9/11. We never actually went to understand what this is about. And so we can sort of break it down to Saddam or Putin is a madman. So we don't have to understand the complex nature of what's happening in the world. And then we can just say, okay, well, let's brandish some weapons. And that's ignorance that leads to death of innocent people. Go ahead, Philip, please.
Did you see that? I believe it was the representative of Jordan I don't know if it was their leader or not, but he was at the UN, but he kind of like comes up to the mic while somebody was talking and was just like kind of goes off on the peace talks, how there's like all of these Arab nations are banded together trying for peace with Israel, and Israel refuses. And and so I'll send it to you if you haven't seen it, but yeah, it's like they're trying. They're not trying to wipe Israel off the map. They're trying to establish peace.
So I just want you to see the propaganda here, guys. Just take this shot here. This is Drudge. This is the type of propaganda that we're dealing with here. Israel and USA repel 180 missile Iran attack. It's amazing. They repelled it all. Israel and USA repelled it, stopped all of it. I mean, you see it happening in real time, guys. The propaganda and the lies happening in real time. So don't fall for it. I mean, it's dark right now, so we won't know the full extent of the damage until the sun comes up. But they were striking at military bases inside of Palestinian areas where the IDF have controlled, and striking military bases all across Israel. So we'll see, and we'll see if there's any reporters who are brave enough to sort of tell the truth about it, and we'll see.